NABARD Grade A 2024 complete course. We are starting our chapter number 3. Essentially, this is your first chapter from content point of view. This is Agronomy part 1. So we are going to see Agronomy chapter 1 today. Okay. We'll try to finish as much as things possible in this particular chapter. If you are able to finish Agronomy earlier, we can even finish this chapter in two parts. Okay. So let's quickly start this particular session. Agronomy. I hope that in previous class you remember what we gone through. Introductions to agriculture. In that we understood the definition and meaning of agriculture. After understanding the meaning, what was the formula which we learned and which we looked at? Simple. Cultivation of land plus production of crops. That was your clear-cut definition. According to 1947 Agriculture Act, what was the definition? Yes, based on this formula only that particular definition was there. That is, first, farming activity, that is agriculture, which will include cultivation of land and production of crop plus allied activities such as, and you can name all the allied activities which you are knowing. It may be horticulture, it may be sericulture, it may be viticulture, it may be then your animal husbandry. In animal husbandry there may be different forms of land cultivation, etc. When you add and sum it up, overall this becomes the definition according to Agriculture Act of 1947. Sometimes it is not really necessary to be exactly touching to the definition, but yes, the meaning of the definition should be very up to date, as well as very clear what that definition is saying. Even if the words are not same and if the content is same, that is more than enough. Nobody is going to check your definitions word by word. They are going to just see what is the content or is this definition suitable. That's what they'll see. After that, there was a main thing which we saw, that was classification. Okay, overall classification or maybe sub branches, that is classification in the sense branches of agriculture. So we saw multiple sub branches. What were they? We started from agronomy, then we in agronomy we also looked at the branches of agronomy. Okay, then horticulture. In horticulture we saw olericulture, pomology, etc. Then we also saw some of the allied activities, animal husbandry, livestock. In animal husbandry, different types of animal husbandry. Okay, or maybe after looking in the livestock deeply, then we went to the other allied activities. And other allied activities include, yes, other allied activities include forestry, then your overall silviculture, then apiculture, etc. In this way, we overall saw the branches of the agriculture. Of these branches, our first branch, main branch of agriculture was agronomy. We also understood the definition of agronomy, agro and nomo. Field management, that was the keyword I told you, to understand or to always know what is agronomy. Doing agricultural practices not randomly but in a scientific way, in which use of principles, methodology, then your overall theories, in such a way that proper cultivation of crops and field management is done in a most scientific approach. That is called as agronomy. See, whenever I am using such keywords, these are very essential, because these keywords only will tell you the meaning of this particular branch. So same ways we will see today what does agronomy means. So right now, for all the new students who are also watching this demo class on YouTube, this is our NABARD complete course. If you are a student who is preparing for NABARD Grade A 2024, definitely you can get and check out our details of this particular course. So agronomy, we already know what was this particular definition of agronomy. Now the word agronomy, nomos, okay, this word comes from Greek. Okay, agros means field. I already told you. Agriculture, a soil is able to cultivate something, that is crops, plants, trees, forest, shrubs, herbs. Okay, that is agriculture. So in this way only agronomy, agro means your field or overall field. As I told you, what is the difference between a patch of land and a field? A field has all the prerequisites, a field has all the factors of production or growth which are responsible for a good growth or cultivation of plants. It will have good fertility, it will have good micro and macronutrients, it will have sufficient supply of water. That is a field. So field and nomos means to manage. Generally management of the field based on scientific principles, that is your agronomy, a Greek word. Okay. Now about agronomy, it is important to understand why agronomy is the term or a branch which is used in agriculture and not directly agriculture is used. We have to understand this. why agriculture directly is not used, agronomy is used. So agronomy is used because, try to understand, as I already told you, agriculture is a scientific as well as art practice which we do for cultivation of crops. So that is why when you are using principles, techniques, methodologies for agriculture, automatically this agricultural practice becomes really highest potential. So whatever crop you are doing, if there are ideal practices, if there are ideal theories, principles, if you are trying to apply them better, automatically you will get an good production, or overall your agricultural process would be fine. So what are the different facets of agronomy which differentiates agronomy than agriculture? देखो agriculture तो हम पढ़ ही रहे, पर फिर एग्रोनॉमी, ये एग्रीकल्चर की ब्रांच अब हम क्यों सीख रहे हैं, या फिर व्हाई व्हाइल डूइंग फोकस्ड एग्रीकल्चर. फोकस्ड एग्रीकल्चर मतलब आप जब फार्मिंग करते हो, व्हेन यू आर डूइंग कल्टीवेशन एट एन वेरी लॉन्ग स्केल, ओके, 2 एकड़ पे, 3 एकड़ पे, 10 एकर्स, 50 एकर्स, ओके, व्हेन यू आर डूइंग सच अ ह्यूज एग्रीकल्चर प्लांटेशन और फार्मिंग, at that time why agronomy is the word which you are using rather than agriculture? Let's try to see. First thing is that agronomy is a scientific way or scientific approach to follow agricultural practices. These agricultural practices are based on the principles, science, methods and techniques which are successful while driving out the overall productivity and overall produce of the crops. I already told you, if you are randomly doing agricultural activity, we cannot say that this agricultural activity is viable or unviable. So it is very important to understand the agricultural processes which we are following. Are these agricultural processes profitable or not, viable or not? So the properties, one time you have to understand that whatever factors of production are there in your field which are used in agriculture, such as soil, water, so their potency is checked by agronomy. So properties of soil, how soil interacts with the growing crops, what nutrients are required by the crops, these all things are checked by agronomy. Agronomy checks into the breaking down of important factors, for example soil. Then for various crops, for example Rabi crops, Kharif crops, Zaid crops, peas, lentils, sugarcane, rice, wheat, every crop will require different nutrients. Every different nutrient will be available in different season. Every different nutrient can be supplied by different chemical as well as natural fertilizers. Our hope after the green revolution should be to replace the chemical fertilizers by natural fertilizers. So this is how agronomy breaks down overall agricultural process. I hope you are getting this story, or maybe I hope you are understanding what I am trying to say. Then when and how to apply these nutrients. These nutrients are actually applied, how to apply this. For example, which type of irrigation you are using. Are you using drip irrigation? Are you using overall flow irrigation? Are you using under the terrace irrigation? How you are trying to use these nutrients either through fertilizers, natural, chemical, and how it is going to affect the overall growth of crops. Overall growth of crops कैसे affect करेगा your overall fertilizers. This all the ways to grow the crops, to increase their potential, to increase their growth, give higher produce, increase their productivity, everything is connected and checked by agronomy. Not only that, the external factors, the internal factors which are responsible for the growth of the crops. So there are two. First are internal factors and then there are external factors. Internal factors will be including fertility of soil, nutrients in soil, okay. We can also consider resources. These days, as technology is available, resources like electricity, resources like water can be readily available from one place to other. Earlier, water was considered as an external factor because nobody had control on water. And today also on rainfall, do we have the control? No. But still we are having groundwater, tap water or tank irrigation. Through that we can use the water. So my point is that Today in resources, in internal factors, you can also consider water. All these are internal factors which are responsible for the growth of the plant as well as overall productivity and produce of the plant. More and more these internal factors are rich in a particular field, you will get good cropping production. Am I right or wrong? Now, what are external factors? External factors are nothing but climate. Then your climate will include everything: temperature, rainfall, that is precipitation, etc. So all these factors and how these factors actually affect your overall crop growth and how crops grow in ideal condition when these factors are available to them, that is also one of the important sets that agronomy helps us understand. For example, the dryland agriculture which happens in Rajasthan, for example. In Rajasthan already the temperature is high, above 35 degrees Celsius. Now in such a high temperature, what are the water resources available? If that water is available, which type of particular irrigation can be used, because evaporation rate also will be high. So considering all of these, then we will come down to which of the crops we can use. Only we can use those crops which are water resistant, which are heat and temperature resistant. Those are not temperature sensitive. Which are the crops which can store the water for a very long time. And such crops can be planted in such particular dryland region, and then we can call such farming activity as dryland farming. We can use simple technologies, principles and methods of dryland farming also. For example, dryland agriculture, the method of doing cultivation and cultivating short span or short-term vegetative growth or short-term vegetables, short-term fruits, which can grow within 1 to 2 months, not 4, 5, 6 months, 1 to 2 months, so that quickly one cycle of cropping is done and you start the next cycle. This is the crops which are climate resistant, or maybe which are heat tolerant as well as overall temperature resistant. So these crops would be your, can you tell which crops are such? Yes, lentils are one of the crop. Other than that, if you see ragi, barley, okay, these are the crops. So in this way, overall, whatever your crops are there, you identify those based on these agronomical observations only. And then comes how you can use different methods as well as how you can control the weeds, control insect attacks, control other diseases to the crops. And when you are doing those, agronomy also keeps a check on sustainability, that you are not using excessive chemical compounds as well as such externalities which will in future affect environment also and agriculture also. So this is what agronomy brings on the table. Agronomy can be also grouped by the type of crop grown. So in this way, as all the factors of production and the response to the crop is actually learned in this particular sub branch of agronomy, automatically you can group different types of crops which can be grown for a particular region and season. Many agronomists specialize in one or more types of crops. So agronomical studies are done in such a way that like certain agronomists do work for these particular crops, and certain agronomical like whatever experts are there, they do the study as well as research on certain crops. Pietro de Crescenzi is the father of agronomy, and this is your previous year question, not for NABARD up till now, but for IBPS AFO. This question has been asked in IBPS AFO. So no wonder this question can be asked in your phase 1 exam. So make sure that you are knowing these important details. Then scope of agronomy. Now I will tell you how agronomy can improve your agricultural capacity, production, yield and overall produce. So agronomy is a dynamic discipline with advanced knowledge and better understanding of plant, environment, that is overall external factors, internal factors, overall practices which can be modified, and high productivity of agricultural crops is what we get. So it is a science which becomes imperative in agriculture. Imperative in the sense, so as we all know that agriculture is the agriculture, if you see an activity, then what did I tell you in the first class? It is not a theoretical subject. It is a combination of theory as well as experimentation or on-field activity. Agriculture is an on-field activity. So once it is an on-field activity, we have to understand okay, very importantly, that here there are certain aspects where agronomy is a prerequisite for doing agricultural activities. Now, why prerequisite? Because agronomy provides certain methods, certain principles which you have to follow with your eyes closed. And which are those, or which areas are those where agronomy helps a lot in agriculture? First is crop production. So agronomy tells you that which factors, which internal factors you can use, which external factors you can use in particular field or in particular area. So suppose you are an agricultural farmer in maybe Rajasthan. Suppose you are an agricultural farmer in Kerala. Suppose you are an agricultural farmer in MP. Okay. So each of these farmer would be doing agricultural practices as well as cropping of different crops. So each of these farmer will be requiring different agricultural inputs. Each of the farmers would be facing different problems, and for those different problems, each of the farmer would be wanting different solutions to those problems. That is how if you see agriculture, then it is very diverse. And as it is diverse, agronomy brings that empirical overall solution, that imperative and empirical solution, which will provide certain values, certain principles, certain methods which you can follow to do a basic agricultural activity. That is, agronomy provides agriculture standard operating procedures, this to do and this not to do during your cultivation of different crops. And this is how, if you follow these things, then automatically it will maximize your yield. It will maximize your yield. Yes, sorghum. Yes, correct, Vivek. Yes. So if any doubts are there, you can definitely ask in between if you want to. So first thing is improving production. Can anybody tell me how agronomy can improve the crop production? How agronomy can be used? Simple. For example, the amount of water used, that is water resource used. After water resource, which is the irrigation which can be used. Okay. So for example, earlier they were using maybe directly they were using splash overall irrigation, or maybe they were using canal irrigation. Now that canal irrigation, if it is replaced by drip irrigation, so automatically your water is saved and the efficiency of the water also is increased. Then not only that, which type of fertilizers to use, which type of cropping to be done, which type of practices to be which could be done in the field, which crop combinations can be applied in that particular field, which is the exact time of cultivation or seeding the plant, which is the exact time of overall reaping that particular benefit of the particular crop. Okay, so in this way crop production can be improved by maximizing the yield of the crop. As agronomy helps us to identify what are the internal factors, what are external factors, and how to twerk those internal and external factors so that improvement in your agricultural production happens. Second thing is soil management. When I talk about soil management, agronomy closely observe what are the different factors which are improving the fertility, what are the important factors which are decreasing the fertility. Overall application of crop rotation. What do you mean by crop rotation? Crop rotation. Planting the crops seasonally one after other in such a way that one crop is succeeded by other, which improves the ability of the next crop or improves the overall production cycle of those all the cropping combination. That is called as crop rotation. For example, Rabi crop is there, in Rabi season is there, so I plant Rabi crop, that is I try to plant, yes, I plant rice. Then sorry, Kharif crop is there at the start, monsoon season, Kharif crop, I plant rice. After Kharif season, Rabi season comes, I plant wheat. After Rabi season, Zaid season comes. In Zaid season, I plant lentils and peas. As I am planting in Zaid season lentils and peas, when we are talking about, these are leguminous plant. So they fix nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen naturally, okay, because of their overall the nitrogen fixing bacteria in their roots. Automatically the atmospheric nitrogen is fixed in the soil, and you will see that this nitrogen improves the fertility of the soil. And after that season, which is the season, Kharif season, again we are planting rice. So now rice can grow in a better fertility or better soil condition where already nitrogen is excessively present. In this way, this is the crop rotation, planting rice, wheat, lentils and peas. Rice, wheat, lentils and peas. You can even then change one or other combination. This is nothing but crop rotation, one after other, where one crop successively helps the other crop. Okay, so in this way, this is also one of the way in which enrichment of fertility happens through your agronomy, and this is how soil management is done by agronomy. Then proper method of tillage. We all know, as I already told you, the difference between a patch of land and field is nothing but overall operations on that particular land or soil is done. So suppose a gravel or hard rock soil is converted into fine material soil. Automatically you will see that here soil is soft, soil is porous. Porous soil will hold the water for a longer time, thus holding more water. It will be soft. The overall seed germination would be very easy in such type of soil. Also, as it will hold more water, the ionization also of the soil would be well. The minerals, whatever are there or nutrients are there, their overall mobilization will be very, very good for the particular plant, and overall absorption rates of the plant would be better and plant will grow better. So in this way, proper method of tillage if it is there, then overall absorption of the plants for nutrients, water, that is also improved. Not only that, proper tillage also provides finer soil substrate in which good crop growth follows. So in this way, tillage also is one thing which could be corrected by the agronomy. Suitable time of sowing. Earlier, it was the plantation time or maybe overall sowing time, okay, reaping time, that did not affected agriculture as much. But now as climate change situation is there, you can see that monsoon earlier used to come in 1st June only, but now monsoon comes 1 to 2 weeks late. Then early retreat also happens sometime of the monsoon. Because of this, we get very less monsoon in very less span of time. So earlier maybe monsoon used to stay in the Indian peninsula for 1 month or 1.5 months or 2 months. Now monsoon does not stay for such a long duration. Late onset is there and early retreat is there. Because of this, we get very less time where tremendous rainfall happens but for a very short span. And because of this, we are not able to even store the water. All the water runs through the percolation. So when such thing is there, it is very important that with fluctuating climate change as well as with fluctuating seasonal weather, we have to choose proper timing, appropriate time to sow the crop so that they can get enough rain for their growth. Similarly, you have to reap the crop exactly at the right time so that as rainfall or monsoon is retreated, automatically after that you can even reap the crop. So in this way, it is very important to find out the suitable timing for sowing, and this also agronomy helps us because agronomy considers the external factors of climate change. Proper method of sowing. As we all know, the overall fragmentation of land does not allows farmers to have a good land and every farmer to have a good land for cultivation. Because of this, I think the volume is more only. Is it audible? Yeah, I think audio is well. Okay. So then comes proper method of sowing. So which type of sowing methods particular farmers are using? Are they using drilling, dibbling for maintaining the plant population? Drilling is nothing but where you use the equipment to drill the hole and then you plant the seed. Dibbling is nothing but you have a T-shaped dibbler in which you are just making an porous hole and then sound is low. Just a minute, let me check. Tanga. End. Play the end. No, don't stop. It's fine. We'll play. Guys, I think the sound is it is well audible. I don't think. Neeraj, you try to see it from your end. Okay? Okay, done. It's fine. We'll play. Yeah, I think Neeraj, it is from your side. Okay? The sound is... Please try to check these things from your side if they are well, because again now see, it has created again a gap between the teaching. Okay, no worries. The next point which we are looking at, maintaining the farm implements and machineries in proper stage. As technology has advanced in such a way, we are using machineries, we are using technologies so as to improve our agricultural practices and to make them fast. So this also agronomy looks into. And management of livestock, it is nothing but how you can approach allied activities and align them with your now agricultural practices. For example, suppose particularly now I am doing rice cropping or wheat cropping. So for your particular agricultural practices or farming practices, automatically whichever practice you are doing, how you will align allied activities along with these agricultural practices. This is what your agronomy gives us. This is the overall scope of agronomy. Now we'll look at the importance. Importance is very simple. We all need profits. See, the problem is that in agriculture, nobody wants that his benefits or whatever crop produce I am doing, I am going and selling it into the market, and if I am getting low returns out of that produce, there is no use. So therefore, we have to understand the main aim or main target of particular agricultural activity which is done on field is that to increase the production. Overall, if 10 ton of production is done and you have given the inputs worth 1 lakh rupees, okay, let's take an example. Suppose I am a farmer, I am having a 10 hectare land. I am having 10 hectare land. In this 10 hectare land, if I am applying 1 lakh rupees for cultivation, if I am applying 1 lakh rupees for cultivation, now after doing cultivation and after reaping those crops, after cutting the crops, after getting the final products of the crop, I did rice cultivation, wheat cultivation or any other crop cultivation, I gone to the market and I sold my produce. And if I sold my produce at rupees 2 lakhs, so my agricultural input was 1 lakh rupees and my agricultural output was 2 lakh rupees. So 1 lakh rupees I gave as input and 2 lakh rupees I earned. So 1 lakh rupees is my profit, 2 lakh minus 1 lakh. So this shows you that profit is there in agricultural activity. But now take one more case. Suppose I gave an agricultural input of 1 lakh rupees. It includes water resources, irrigation pumps, fertilizers, etc., etc. Technology, use of tractor. Now I gone to the market and I sold my produce in the market, but I only got 1,20,000 rupees or maybe even less than 1 lakh rupees. Now I am just earning 20,000 or 10,000. I am just earning maybe less than 1 lakh, then I am doing a loss. At such a time, agricultural activity becomes unviable. Also, this 1 lakh rupee, whatever farmer has, who has given this particular 1 lakh rupees in his agriculture as an agricultural input, that also money is taken from the informal or unorganized debt. So when such money comes from debt and again you are not able to create any profit, automatically there is double burden of debt or maybe you fall into a debt trap. So in this way, it is very important to get higher yield or maybe agronomical benefits in such a way that we are producing higher produce. So if you are a farmer and if you are in your agricultural field, earlier if you were producing 10 tons of agricultural produce, maybe wheat or rice, anything, our aim should be to increase this 10 tons to 12 tons to 15 tons, 20, 30, 40 as much as possible. Increasing this overall produce is nothing but the profitability or viability of agriculture. The yield which we are talking about, higher yield, it is nothing but the overall output per unit area. So if I am having 10 hectares and my total produce is 20 tons. I have 10 hectares of land and my total produce is 20 tons. 10 hectare of land, 20 tons of produce. In this 10 hectare, 20 ton if I am producing, in 1 hectare how much I will produce? I will be producing 2 tons. So this is my overall productivity. Okay, so this is my overall productivity. Productivity is nothing but overall per output per unit area. Output per unit area is your overall productivity, and yield is nothing but overall in percentage, how much efficient your production is. For example, earlier you were producing 10 tons, now you are producing 20 tons. So how much percent increase is there? That is your overall yield. So difference in the production of output, that is your yield. So main aim of agriculture is to improve the productivity, increase the overall produce and yield in your field. Okay, now how agronomy is helpful in increasing all of these three things? Automatically through introducing various agricultural advanced practices. It may be, for example, organic farming, sustainable agriculture, tying allied activities with our agricultural practices like forestry, doing multiple agricultural activities and bringing crop combinations together through mixed farming, intercropping, then poultry production, that is allied activities along with agriculture, sheep and goat rearing, mixed intercropping, etc., etc. I hope that all these things are nothing but opportunities which any individual farmer, if he is doing just agricultural practices, then he can follow any of these particular inputs which have been given by agronomy, so that to improve his overall productivity, yield and produce. Okay, so in this way, importance of agronomy I have told. Now comes the basic principles of agronomy. Now this you should definitely know. In exam, a question can come up related to what are the principles of agronomy and which of the following are not the principles of agronomy. Such MCQ can definitely come. If it doesn't come in phase 1, it can come in phase 2. Which of the following are not the principles of agronomy? So here you can read it, but definitely let me discuss it some part. First is proper water management. Water efficiency is very, very important while considering that monsoon is very, very invariable and water storage as well as water assessment is very important. Prevention of water wastage as well as the water, improving the water harvesting, so that whatever water we are having, enough water is percolated, and whatever water we have stored, we can use it throughout the year for our agricultural produce. Okay, through green revolution we have also known that how excessive water can be drained out of groundwater resource. So therefore it is indeed need of time now to make your proper water management. Second, planning, programming and executing measures. So planning, programming and executing measures in the sense these are solutions for different problems. Okay, then comes choice of crop varieties. In India, if you are looking at, so suppose this is our India. So when we are looking at India, we have to understand one thing very clearly. The crops which we are looking at, okay, each area or each region, each state in India is different. At every kilometer you will see that the climate change is there, language change is there, automatically resources also differ, plant, vegetation, everything differs. So that's why every region there is new variety of crop, new variety of farming, new variety of farming methods, new variety of farming practices which are followed in the country. So it is very essential to find different crops and which are the choices of the crops which could be planted together, one after other. This has to be seen season by season as well as region by region. So remember this. Proper field management. Field management is nothing but how you are managing the factors of production of crops, overall factors responsible for the growth of crops, the other allied activities and resources on the field, and how you are using all of these things togetherly to increase the growth of the crop or increase the production itself. Second, adoption of multiple cropping. Multiple cropping is nothing but growing more than one crops or more than two crops togetherly, okay, in either a random arrangement or in a particular uniform arrangement, such as row cropping, column cropping, maybe squared cropping, okay, hexagonal cropping. So in this way, when multiple cropping is done, farmer is not just dependent on one crop. So that is why always agronomy recommends adoption of multiple cropping. Timely application of proper balanced nutrients. We all have heard about the scheme Soil Health Card, SHC. What is Soil Health Card scheme? Farmers can take the sample of their soils, go to the scientific soil laboratories, give this sample, the soil can be checked, the nutrient assessment can be done, and a card will be given to them which shows the nutrient overall the nutrient composition of that soil. Looking at the nutrient composition, you can go and buy the fertilizer or natural fertilizer, okay, which is essential for that particular soil. For example, I am having a soil in which abundant nitrogen is there. Then why should I buy urea? Just because it is giving more fertility, should I use urea? No, it will make my soil more saline. So rather than that, I can use phosphorus, I can use potassium, okay, which could be less in my soil. So in this way, it is very essential to understand how you are going to apply the balanced nutrients in the soil. Then comes the choice of quality seed or seed material. The choice of seed is nothing but which types of seed you are going to use to sow the seeds. So now there are two types of seeds which are available. One are those which are prepared in laboratory. For example, Green Revolution high yielding variety seeds, the dwarf plants which were there for wheat, rice and other cereals. These laboratory seeds are genetic varieties or hybrid seeds. These are having highest capacity to grow. This cannot again be reproduced from the plant which is germinating. That's why the farmers are totally dependent on buying such hybrid seeds directly from the contractors or manufacturing industries or organizations. This makes farmers dependable for the seeds on the corporates as well as industries. Whereas there are some indigenous natural seeds. Indigenous natural seeds are nothing but these seeds are like from the origin, these seeds are old as well as these are indigenous, that is naturally these are in India only. Since ages these seeds have been used in the Indian region. There are different varieties of these indigenous seeds. This can be reproduced again and again through the germination process, and these are climate resilient also. This can grow in any of the extreme climate situation also. But there is one thing why most indigenous seeds are not used, because these are very slow growth seeds. These seeds will not give you plants within 2 to 6 months, but rather it requires a lot of time for these plants to grow. Also, these seeds, whatever indigenous seeds are there, it require proper nurture, proper growth, proper resources availability, proper other factors for production, nutrients, and it cannot be directly grown from the chemical fertilizers. So two types of seeds. So we have to find out which choice are we making, which graded seeds we are choosing, certified seeds we are using. That is what is seen. Which genetically good quality seeds we are using. Next is proper water management. It is nothing but how to store the water, water harvesting techniques, overall how to percolate the water more to increase the groundwater table, etc. Adoption of multiple cropping again. Then comes suitable of appropriate management practices. Again, as multiple things are there to consider when you are doing the agricultural practices. Now management practices are very, very important. Plant protection measures are also very important. Plant protection measures are nothing but insect attack or maybe diseases are there to prevent plants from all these things and make sure that their growth is in healthy way. That is what the overall target of agronomy is. In each of these areas, agronomy's overall vision is, or the principle is, to use most scientific methods to improvise the situation and prevent the problem. That is what is there. And last is post-harvest technology. So harvesting, that is reaping the crops, and after harvest, whatever your produce is there, as for some crops the shelf life is very less, like vegetable, fruits. For some crops those can be stored for a very long time. For both of these crops, if you want to produce final goods out of these particular agricultural products, then definitely harvesting technologies are required. Then comes distinction between agronomy and agriculture, which we have already discussed. Agriculture, as I told you, it has various diverse branches. It is mother branch. See, agriculture is the mother science or mother branch, whereas agronomy is the sub branch of agriculture, where all the branches which are talking about of agriculture only, other branches are talking about different types of agricultural practices. Agronomy talks about not just the agricultural practices or choice of crops, it talks about the method of agricultural practices, that is scientific way of doing agricultural activities. So agronomy is management and scientific way of doing agricultural practices. So while agronomy becomes vital department of agribusinesses also. Why vital department? Because as it is scientific in nature, as it is managing in nature, automatically it brings out various resources, it pulls the resources, it pulls the factors, and in this way makes agricultural activity more profitable and more processed. Okay, so overall if you see, agriculture includes various other forms of factors or maybe overall production facets such as soil testing, soil administration, okay, other disease and insect administration. All these things are looked up by agronomy only. Essentially, of mother branch agriculture, agronomy is scientific management of crops and field. Write it down, this is very important. So this is the basic difference, where agriculture talks about just practices of this and that, okay, where other branches of agriculture also talks about agricultural cultivation, growing of crops, where maybe horticulture may talk about growing of fruits, vegetables, ornamental crops. Animal husbandry may talk about growing animals for harboring animals for particular products. Agronomy talks about scientific management of crops and field. So it is a way of doing agriculture practices. Agronomy is way of doing the agriculture. Okay, so this is what agronomy is. I hope you understand. Now comes the history. See, agronomy is an sub-branch of agricultural science. Okay, it is a sub-branch. So that is why this agronomy has also evolved. Agronomy also has evolved. So the distinct branch of agricultural science only evolved after 1900. First time agronomy as a subject, or maybe agronomy as an institution or organization, came into being in 1908. That is American Society of Agronomy. Then if you see in context of India, then 1955 first time Indian Society of Agronomy came into being, and it registered as the society in 1957. So you can remember these dates just for understanding. So you could see here 1957, this shows you after independence in India the scientific approach for agriculture was followed. Earlier that it was just a traditional agricultural practice which is just carried out as an activity. Remember, agriculture can be just an activity. Agronomy is not just an activity. Agronomy is a scientific way. Okay, next. It organizes, then after in India if you see, after 1957 various agronomical sciences, different fairs, different international organizations as well as groupings, symposiums have taken place till 2021. You could see that today Indian Council of Agricultural Research has a special division of agronomy also. This shows you how much agronomy has evolved. This particular here you could see, this is a flowchart which shows you how agronomy can improve your overall farming and rural economy. So for example, physical resources are there. How these physical resources are affected by the global climate change. Now as these physical resources are affected, these physical resources may not be available at optimum level. For example, just imagine, is water available today abundantly for agriculture as well as everywhere, all the needs in India? No, we can see that even water scarcity is there in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Bangalore, right? So because of climate change, resources are affected. Now as resources are affected, automatically agriculture will be affected, but agronomical knowledge and inputs are there. Because of this, automatically different plant methodologies like plant breeding, then plant utilization, different crop combinations, choices of the crops, that can be checked, and different ways can be controlled. Then biological production, that is different crops, forests, natural vegetation. Agricultural knowledge to use this, that is cultivation of crops in such a way that farm structure, land use, ownership, food, nutrition, market, sell, all these are aligned, categorized for all the agricultural practices in such a way that overall rural economy, income, agricultural income increases. This is what agronomy does. The agronomical knowledge and inputs helps us to align all of these processes in spite of external factors affecting your agriculture negatively. Okay, so this is how boundaries and scales are there. That is how your scientific study of agronomy can affect and control the agriculture irrespective of your physical elements and external factors like climate change, biological constituents like vegetation, soil, etc. So it provides agriculture an opportunity in your scarce resources as well as climate change activity. Okay, so in this way agronomy helps. Then relation of agronomy to other sciences, it's very simple. Agronomy is also a scientific branch under your agriculture. Am I right? So when agronomy is scientific way or methodology to manage the field and crops, automatically agronomy considers economics, soil science, agricultural chemistry, crop physiology, plant ecology and biochemistry togetherly to understand crop combination and which are the most possible solutions for different problems. Soil sciences agronomy consider because to understand the physical content of the soil, chemical composition, biological properties, such that modification of the soils could be done, such that rather than using chemical fertilizers, naturally we can improvise the soil condition. Maybe for example, one of the agronomical solution. What is one of the agronomical solution? It is nothing but how you can use the wet waste or organic waste. Wet waste or organic waste. Okay, how you can use wet waste or organic waste as manure or natural fertilizer for crop. How you can use that wet waste or organic waste as a layer on the crops to control, to increase or decrease the temperature of the roots of the crop. This is one of the way only agronomy can use this particular organic waste by understanding through soil sciences. If agronomy didn't knew about the soil sciences, how it could use this particular technique of using organic manures for improving the agricultural soil condition? Am I right? Next, agricultural chemistry. It helps to understand chemical composition, different reactions which take place. For example, what are the different reasons why yellowing of leaves is there in various crops? Which is that particular disease which results into rotting of the roots because of particular climate change or excessive water availability? How particular crops grow well in water dampened situation and how particular crops do not grow where excessive water availability is there. So these all things will be understood only when agricultural chemistry is considered. Then crop physiology. Every crop has different parts, different leaves, different stem, and its physiology is also different. To understand that physiology, it will help us to understand crops better. Once we understand the crops better, we can use them in different way. For example, earlier nobody knew that even barley, ragi, then your other oil seeds, other linseeds, these type of crops could be grown in high temperate and dry regions. But now we know them that these are climate resilient crops and which can be grown. But how did we know this? We know because of your crop physiology only, as these crops require very less water. That is why these crops can be used in such regions. Then comes plant ecology, that how plant are affected by the external environment, how particular agriculture is not a separate activity from environment but rather is an eternal part of the environment only, and that is why we have to make our agriculture more greener. We don't have to use more chemicals but rather make it more greener. Okay, and then comes biochemistry. It will help it will help us to understand the critical processes which happens in the plant. For example, photosynthesis. Okay, for example, overall photosynthesis as well as the potential evapotranspiration, which is responsible for loss of water vapor and water from the plants. If we study this more and more, the advanced technologies, for example, vertical farming, these are the practices which you can follow.